myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is the three amigos, the perfect way to kickstart your Newcastle United weekend, and it's a full panel tonight as I'm joined by the one-eyed naval architect, George, the already gifted Gwyneth Paltrow fan, Mitch, John Allen from Borough Mag, top three from Keith Patterson, and Steve Hasty, who's decided not to go with the name, and me, who constantly tries to sell books via my website. So welcome to you all, lads. Welcome to you all. As always, plenty of dogs, plenty of laughs, and plenty of crack about Newcastle United. And as always, plenty to talk about, lads. And what we're going to do, I think we'll start with Eddie's press conference, because as always, it throws up a gem. It always throws up a gem for us on a Friday. The gem for me today, George, was Paul Dummett, because anyone who was at the stadium last week will have seen Paul Dummett on the sidelines, 90-odd minutes played, into injury time, stripped, ready to come on. I had to rub my eyes, and is that really Paul Dummett? And lo and behold, it was. And then the whistle went and he didn't get on. So he was asked about it today in the press conference. And he went on, as he would always do, waxed lyrical about Dummett. How he's a great trainer, he's fully fit, he could start a game tomorrow. The bonus is he could play left back and he can play centre half, he can play them more one position. It's led to headlines, which I've already seen, is Dummett going to be offered a new contract? What did you make of that? And Matt Ritchie came into the frame as well, George, because, Matt Ritchie's another one he spoke highly of. I think we all know the relationship between him and Matt Ritchie is good, it's positive. But would it surprise you if Matt Ritchie and Paul Dummett were around next year?
If it was more than a year, it would. But if it was a year, it wouldn't at all. I watch the way players react both on the field and off the field, and my memories of for example, of Matt Ritchie is when players have scored goals and Matt's on the pitch, they usually get a pat on the back, and it usually knocks their insides out. He's so hearty about it, and they all take it. And same with Dummett, when he's on the pitch, you can hear him. Well, where I sit, I can hear him when he's playing at that side. You could hear him shouting and encouraging and getting involved. Now, if they're like that in training, if they're like that in the dressing room, that's some of the atmosphere you want in the dressing room, particularly for the younger ones to see. And say, hey, well, there's a bloke been a professional for 10 years, and he's not making corner rucks because he's not on the pitch. He's just getting down and doing it, So I can see the logic in the way that Eddie Howe constructed the squad. And I can see why people would be surprised as well. But from a playing point of view and a sheer professional point of view, you couldn't pick two better professionals, two people who are fit and up for it all the time and involved. And when they get on, they give their all. And as I say, that's not just good for now. That's a great example for some of the young people wanting to come through. People like Elliot Anderson, who's sitting on his bum at the moment, who I'd like to see on the pitch, but doesn't get on. But he can look and say, well, okay, the bloke along there has been sitting on the bench for quite a long time. He's been here over 10 years, and he's not complaining. He just wants to play. So I can see why it would be a great, a big surprise. But I can also see why, in Eddie Howe's mind, why it would be a useful thing to have. It's as straightforward as that. But it was a surprise when I seen it, I must say. And how and you're right as well, Steve, how quickly the press picked up on it and was suddenly thrown extended contracts all over the place, which is fascinating. But it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, Mitch. It's Dummett's. He's been a good servant, I would say. But, you know, is he going to want to sit around on the bench? I mean, he's not going to get in ahead of, you know, what we've got at the moment, I would have said. And, you know, we would imagine the transfer window we're potentially going to be targeting another left back.
He's not, but if you look at what we have to do for European squads next season, he's one who's come through the academy and therefore takes one of those 4 slots to stick him in the squad. And that's squad management, ladies and gentlemen, something we've had none of for the last 10 years. Also, if you look at him if he's seen by Eddie as a first-class pro, somebody who can be a good example to the youngins, someone who can talk to any of the youngins coming through the academy about what it's like, somebody who can talk to anybody coming into the club about the culture of the club and the culture of the region. He's absolutely ingrained in the thing. And therefore, there's lots of reasons to keep him around. But I think that the most you could probably expect would be a 1-year extension. But in some respects, it makes sense. And I know that mightn't sit well with some people, because at the minute we seem to really like to pile on left backs in Newcastle League at the minute. But also, I just think if Eddie Howe's happy to have him around, and he's a homegrown player, just like Tom says, important for Champions League, and he covers 2 positions, and we know he can play left back, we know he can play centre back, we know he can play centre back in a 3, we know he can, you know, charge up and down the left wing on his own if that's what he's got to do. There's a number of jobs he can fill, and he's experienced, and he's a safe pair of hands. And again, I know that's not exciting, but we need to be looking at the full aspect of the squad 360. And so I think there's a number of reasons why he might get another year. Get him another year past that, I'd be surprised. But it wouldn't surprise me to see him given another year with all of those different things in mind.
Joe, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, what Mitch said. There's something about keeping our own. I think that's really important. Clearly, part of the club's agenda these days is to think about the youth setup, something that's been woefully neglected for the past X amount of years. So you want people like Paul Dummett around, don't you? Nice guy, I'm led to believe. Newcastle daft, which always helps. Yes, from a footballing perspective, does us a favour for that Champions League squad, but I wasn't quite looking at the Champions League. I was more thinking about, if you think about the potential detrimental effect that our League Cup run had on us this season, when we kind of went flat, didn't we, and off the boil, and people looked tired and leggy and such like. But we're going to be having FA Cup runs from now, hopefully, and we're going to have more League Cup runs from now on, hopefully. So if you're playing Shrewsbury Town, with respect to Shrewsbury Town in the FA Cup, you're going to need a squad. And as much as we'd all love to go out and say we've let Paul Dummett go, but we've spent 87 million on a Brazilian left back to fill his boots, we all know it doesn't work like that. So actually, the Paul Dummetts of this world, the Matt Ritchies of this world, whilst they've got legs and whilst there's still a modicum of quality there, we're going to need these people around. So why would we not? Eddie Howe talks a lot about a dressing room, about a galvanised dressing room. Look at the impact people like Kieran Trippier, for example, have when they're not in the side. I'm led to believe Matt Ritchie does the same. He was the guy who put his arm around Anthony Gordon after he punched Eddie Howe. So you want these guys around your squad, don't you? So yes, I think the bedwetters would panic and say, oh my God, what are we doing? But actually, I think it's a very, very astute move.
Yeah, mute button.
I thought
it's a strange one, Keith. It's a strange one for me, Dummett. I mean, yeah, lovely lad, local lad. I understand all of that, but it's, and Eddie can only answer the question, when he gets it.
I love what he's saying. I love what he's saying, and he's right. But I guess tonight I'm going to sound like a bedwetter, and I know how Joel gives us an easy ride. But the reason I say that is because, the show's all about opinions, and we're not in the Champions League yet, but I think we'll finish third. And I think the things come along and present themselves, which are unexpected. None of us know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, next week. You've got to take every kick and bump as it comes. And when you look at people like Dummett, I immediately look at people like Shelby. Newcastle wanted to hold on to him. And when you look at him, and you can, people can throw pelts at me. I just don't really care. But if you think about Wood and Shelby and the contracts they got and how much they paid for them, they paid big money for the both, and some meaty wages, and they do nothing, to aid Notts Forest. I don't know. Somebody might say, "Oh, so and so's injured or whatever," but one's been banished to train with kids or whatever, and to me, I think you've got to put things in perspective. There comes a time in our life when we get to a certain age, and the legs don't go as well as they want to do. If you put Isaac on the wing and put him against Dummett, he'd turn him inside out, and he'd have a nightmare against someone like Isaac, and that's what we're coming up against. And it's nice to be sympathetic, and it's nice to be let's like John Hall's dream. Let's have 11 Geordies, but it's not realistic. And when I see the value you get from Europe versus the value we're bringing into this club, if someone tells me Botman's signing on fee started with 3, I think, holy shit, really? You can get that kind of value in Europe? So for me, I'm pragmatic, and I look and I think all I want to see Shah's future replacement, because I love Shah, but I want to see the guy who's come behind him. And you see these guys, 22-year-old, come from Europe that can be bought for 30 and 40 million. So I'm one of these that says, well, if you brought him in and you've got Shah and Botman, and you have the new guy and Byrne, then you don't need Lascelles. And people say, oh, Lascelles has been good. They've all been good. Matt Ritchie's been an absolute stalwart. He's been a great character for dressing room and everything. But your legs go. Your legs go. You get Peter Beardsley on a show and talk about one of the best footballers that ever lived and played for Newcastle, and you talk to Peter Beardsley about the day when he thought his legs went, or talk to Kevin Keegan and he announced when his went Liverpool away, where he gave Hansen and Lawrenson a couple of yards start and lost it. And Keegan can go back to that date. And when I look at them, I think, Keegan and Beardsley were at the top of world football in my eyes. They were as good as we'll ever get going forward. And I want a Keegan and a Beardsley on this side, but I also remember that they both were intelligent enough to realise when their legs weren't going to carry them to places the brain wanted to go. And so I look at it differently. I look at it and think, if we're going to go, we're definitely a year ahead of our time, but maybe it's 2. That we're going to get Champions League this year without going into the playoffs. If there's any playoff positions to be fought for, that's between Brighton, Liverpool, and Man United. We'll get 3rd, and then you look at the team, and I am one of them that says, your Richies, your Dummetts, and all them need to go. If you need 4 players, homegrowns, then you start with people like young Miley, and you look at people like young Anderson, you look at people like young Longstaff, and you that's the kind of people. But the one thing Newcastle's done is they've built a game and a tactic based on pressure, strength, running, and it's the hardest thing. Pace is everything in the modern game. And what Eddie Howe's done, he's built belief and team spirit beyond anybody in the league. So anybody who plays Newcastle knows they're going to have a really, really hard game. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. And you can't do that with a 31, 32-year-old whose legs are going. Trippier, I think he'll break the exception. I think Trippier, he'll get another 2 years out of Trippier. But I think even then, you'll manage him with like the kid we got from West Ham. You'll bring him off in games like he's doing with Callum Wilson now. And I think Eddie Howe's mentality and brain set will get more years out of the Wilsons of the world. But for us to go where we're going, it's, someone asked us today, do you think that Wilson and Isaac will be enough for Champions League? I said, no, we need an Osman in there. We need another class act up front. You need 3. And when you talk centre halves, you need somebody that can challenge Botman and Shah. That's our next purchase. So if I look at the team and said, well, if you put poor Botman Trippier as being diamonds, and then put Bruno, Isaac, and Joe Linton as being diamonds, and 6 people there, you sit there and say, well, we've got 5 spaces left to be the difference between crawling into the Champions League and winning the Champions League. But for me, I think that if we get the right kind of buys in that we're looking at, I think that we can improve on this year. I think we can challenge for the title next year, and I think that we can go to the Champions League and batter people and get in the throats and rip them like we rip teams in this league. Man City didn't know if they want a shit shave or a haircut. when they played us at the start of the season. When we got at their faces, 3-1 down, they didn't know where they were coming or going. So don't underestimate that if you're going to build on it, you've got to let sentiment go out the window. You've got to say, I'm looking for the next Trippier, a 22-year-old. I'm looking for the next centre-half. I'm looking for Botman's partner on the right-hand side. I'm looking for Pope's. You look at Pope's age. I'm looking for the 21-year-old version of Pope, and bring youth into it, and bring speed and pace into it. But don't try and belie the whole thing about our bodies, because you get older, you slow down, and your brain wants to go there, but your body won't carry you. So I think it's all emotional and fanciful and cozy, and I'd rather keep going the way we're going and be aggressive. And I don't see the Richies and the Dummetts doing that next season for us.
Keith, do you not think there's a little bit of shithousery going here though with this thing from Dan Asra? He's looked at the Champions League rules and he says, we need 4 homegrown players. And if it's true that Gillespie signed a new contract, he was through our academy originally as well. So there you go. Gillespie, Dummett, Anderson, Longstaff. They go into list A. Everybody else goes into list B, and we'll play who the fuck we want. And so it might just be something as simple as that, Keith. And temper expectations on their part. Look, you might not be involved, but we need you here for this reason. It's fascinating, but you're right. It's all about opinions and about where we'll go. But I think we all agree probably that we're quite happy to trust the process and see where it takes.
Well, we all trust it, but I think you want people that make Bruno and Isaac look ordinary. That you want people in their company that can make the ball talk, and like you've got to look at the Yagats and the Osmans. You've got to look at the people who take us up that next peg. And if you rest on your laurels, what'll happen is Chelsea will come good again, Liverpool will come good again, Brighton will keep growing. Brighton's just signed Pedro from Watford today. I thought it was positive because I thought that's Newcastle could have had him. They've let him go to Brighton for 20-odd million. We pitching higher than that. That's how I read it.
I agree. I think you're right, mate. 100%. Ian Edgar, just want to answer your question before it leaves this mortal coil. Sean Longstaff, update on him was in my press conference review. You probably haven't had time to see it, but he's not trained all week. They were hoping he was going to train today, and of course he's got an extra day to train tomorrow. So watch this space. And ASM trained today. He's back on the grass. He looks good. He's fit. So ASM is available for selection. So that's your injury update today. Steve, your thoughts on Dummett and Richie?
Yeah, well, I thought we had a scoop as well. While Joe was talking, we mentioned playing Shrewsbury Town. I thought he was a relative of Dewsbury Hall from Leicester. I thought, he's gone for the double barrel. But no, I mean, some great comments there about where the squad's heading and who you would have in it, and I understand both sides of this conversation, because I'm very much in the Keith camp of, and always have been, of not in the Keith camp, but I've always had this opinion that is there somebody better? You go and buy some.
Me and your camp.
You can get them. That's I used to say this years and years ago.
Hello, Taylor.
Yeah, exactly. We used to see it sitting with the lads in the Strawberry Apple game, and would say, "Oh, you have so and so," and they say, "Oh, no, he's all right. He's all right." I'm good. Is there somebody better out there? Yeah, well, that's who Newcastle should be going for. Then somebody better. You should always looking to raise your standards, and I think that's what Eddie Howe is now in the position to do. Dummett, he hasn't played for 18 months. I don't think we've seen him for 18 months. I was gobsmacked when he got out the dugout. I thought, dear me, is he due a cash bonus? Is there something to do with his contract? And Eddie's just getting, and he still didn't get on the pitch. The whistle had gone. The reason the whistle went, of course, was because the referee blew up early. He didn't give the full period of injury time or time added on, because we were watching on but. I'm not too sure where the club is heading in terms of the next stage, and that's what is exciting about it, because it's going to come to me like a bolt of lightning, and I'm going to be, wow, look who we've signed.
that's the exciting part of the closed season. All the speculation that goes over the top of my head at times. But listen, you talked about the press conference, Steve, and you said about Sean being not being possibly available, but not training yet. But ASM, I think I'd love to see Sean back in the team, and we'll probably talk about it later. But I don't think ASM will be anywhere near the team in the next 5 games.
Interesting. Yeah, we've had a few conversations about that this week. I don't want to upset Trolls, because I know Trolls is a big ASM fan, but we will wait and see. I think we'll certainly be discussing it more now that Eddie Howe has said he's fully fit and he's raring to go. If he doesn't feature this weekend, I think people can make their own minds up there 100%. But will be interesting. Just to confirm, it's not wallpaper behind Steve. That's his curtains, Gary. Steve Hastie's wallpaper reminds him of a shirt he used to wear.
That's the curtains.
Definitely the curtains. Okay. As always, we have plenty to get through tonight. And sometimes I have to mix it around because we get that many tweets. So I'm going to do that tonight, I'm afraid. We're going to go over tweet of the week first. And believe you me, I do try to cut these down, but Zora comes up with great ones each week, and obviously I'll find a few as well. I see Bruno was doing his best impersonation of Bruce Forsyth during the game, which that was pretty good, that actually. It was a good spot that early on. I think a few people sent us that in, but thanks for that. Pickford getting a bit stick. We always like to see it. Brilliant, that, Billy. Thank you for that, mate. And as always, there's a few inboxes from people with regards to Sunderland. Stadium of Light, National Glass Centre, Hilton Castle, and for football, follow Newcastle. That's an old one, but it's golden, Billy. So thank you for your contributions this week. Sunday League days, back in the good old days, lads. Remember those days?
Yes, absolutely.
Packing a Benson just in the lighter down the back of his sock. Yeah, fantastic days. Ian Hull says, I've just tried one of those new Mediterranean sausages by Elvis Costello. They're delicious. I think olive salami is here to stay.
Oh, God.
Excellent. I love it when news grow. Downing Street, obviously local election, so it's topical. Thieves operate in this area.
Ouch.
And nothing better than a Chinese proverb on a Friday, lads. A foolish man complains about his torn pocket. A wise man uses it to scratch his balls. Is that an actual Chinese proverb?
If it's not, it should be.
The neighbour tells me you're chasing people on a motorcycle. He's lying. I don't even have a motorcycle. And I always like these things where you see the picture of Christ, in a swimming pool or something like that. Well, this is one on there. A woman's described feeling shocked after discovering the face of the late Lady Diana in a pack of ham purchased from Tesco's.
Unbelievable. Dear me.
She's got like a Jimmy Hill chin when you actually look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think really the case of that is if you stare at something long enough, you'll see something.
I tell you what, if you're in our house and stared at it long enough, you get out to eat, it'll be gone. Who stares at the food that long? I mean, I stick it in my mouth.
Have any of you ever seen any kind of anything like that? Is anything you can compare to that, lads?
No.
Just I genuinely can't say that I've ever seen anything like that. Joe, you're the kind of person I think.
I once saw you, Keith and George, in an egg box when I opened it.
No, we're moving on. No matter how bad your day was, lads, I doubt it was worse than this. Meow. It's a squirrel, sadly. We saw better days, unfortunately. Yesterday, of course, was official Star Wars Day. Thanks to Vince, who's the big Star Wars fan on this panel. May the 4th be, and then Darth Vader slapping him across the chops, saying every day is Star Wars Day. And David, it wasn't too late, maybe a little late for tonight, but I'd like to give a plug for my nephew's cat, Eric, who was on the Cat Protection League award shortlist this year as the SM Media Cat. Well done, David. Well done, that man. Well done to the cat. A guy gets pulled over for speeding, and the officer said, "What's your name, son?" He replied, "David, sir." The officer looked at him suspiciously and said, "Do you have a stutter?" The guy replied, "No, sir, my dad has a stutter." And the guy who filled out my birth certificate said also.
That's one of Elliot's.
Pretty good, though.
Dear.
The registration plate sounds like a good night to me. BJ69 KFC. And thanks to Luke Watson. If any of Newcastle fans want to know what it's like supporting Newcastle, I just saw a graphic that gives us a 97% chance of qualifying for the Champions League with 5 games to go, and I'm still not convinced we're going to make it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's that old Stockholm syndrome.
It
A
is
short
indeed.
poem for Star Wars Day. Her name was Yoda. A showgirl she was. Brilliant.
You know.
And I never wanted to believe my dad that was stealing from his job working on the roads, but when I got home, all the signs were there.
That's very good.
And Jimmy Moore, as always, sending us a few. Mike Tyson in front of the Sphinx. I'd pay money to hear that man pronounce Sphinx. And then Would I Lie there too said, check how many years the Sphinx got before the guy leaves. Tattoos. It's taken you a long time to draw 2 simple hearts. It took me a while to find that one out, lads, actually, when he sent us that. I had to look at it 3 times. How do you prepare the chicken? We're just telling them straight out that they're going to die. And a couple more. I'm a Saints supporter. I love this. I came up on Sunday for my first visit in Newcastle. I'd like to say what a great experience it was. We travelled in on the metro. Everyone we met was so helpful and friendly and welcoming. We didn't even have to ask for directions. People just directed and showed us the way and which station to get off. The people of Newcastle, you are a credit to your city and your club.
Very nice.
Outstanding.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
So I went to this Eskimo restaurant. I asked to see the menu. The waiter said, we don't have a lot of options, so I'll just call them out to you. We've got whale meat steaks. We have whale meat curry. We have whale meat stir fry. And of course, we have the Vera Lynn. I said, what's the Vera Lynn? He said, whale meat again.
We'll meet again. Oh, dear.
Good one when George
Oh,
knows
dear.
it. Zara says she only answers to one king in preparation for the coronation. King Kevin, of course. And this is a wonderful picture that's been circulating. Frank Lampard, 007. No time to win. 0 wins. No draws. 7
I'm a chatty Robs. I've just had a 20-minute rant about Frank Lampard. That was terrifying and glorious all at the same time.
If you're a Peppa Pig fan, please turn away. If you're easily offended, turn away. Peppa Pig jigsaw puzzle. And Shite Seats, the good lads from there. Miss you, lads. Used to see them every week. Eddie Howe's boring, negative anti-football. 10 goals in a week, Mags. Keir Starmer said his dad was a toolmaker. Below is an example of his father's work.
Yeah, that's right.
And please note that the post-apocalyptic fiction section has been moved to current affairs. Say that when you've had 10 pints with John Allen. I see Leeds have taken Bielsa's bucket out of storage in preparation for handover to Big Sham. And David Pick says, hi Lindsay Hipgrave, love your work. Can I just check when the cameras aren't on you? Or are you just constantly screaming in Michael's face? I just want to make sure you're staying true to being a fan here. Response to her being on quite a few programmes with Michael Owen of late. A joke for the Amigos from Percy Street Anderson. He said, Quasimodo at the doctor's. What makes you think I've got a back problem? Doc, just a hunch, mate.
Oh, dear.
That's very Elliot. And this one from Dunnell. Overheard a lady saying she won't let a kid watch Peppa Pig because it encourages bad behaviour like jumping in puddles. I watched Roadrunner as a kid and I haven't blown anyone up with dynamite yet. And just clearing out my house and I found the old pin badge from 1989 when I had to guess the weight of a couple of snooker balls in a leather pouch whilst blindfolded. And tweet of the week from Jimmy: when you've just got to know if she's level-headed or not. Wow, can you imagine buying your last them? Dear me, how Keith, you'd be out the door. Tweet of the week: Jerry Springer's memorial service. And this one, troublesome fans, horrible fans, non-loyal fans. Do these sound like problems you have at your football club? If so, we've got the solution for you. Call Eddie Howe's crowd removal now. Eddie and his team will rid you of these so-called fans on demand in completely empty stadiums within 20 minutes. Ask about the Eddie Special, where for no extra cost we can remove the atmosphere from your stadium by using the latest high-tech equipment, the Isaac 4000 and the Wilson 4000. We can also go the extra mile and take in the MiG 2. Ask about the Gordon 4000 and the Murphy 4000. Eddie's crowd control, a name you can trust.
Brilliant.
Brilliant, that.
Well thought out, lad.
Man United fan, United winning and Newcastle losing. It's looking good, bro. NUFC edition. See you at full time. And of course, that wasn't the case. Last few, David Pickford celebrating a penalty save when 2-1 down, like some chava and a rave man. These have to go down. I think a lot of us would like to see that happen. This chef on TV just said, where there's fat, there's flavour. I know he was talking about food, but I still took it as a compliment. And so come on, do the no promotion with me. And Yul Brynner, it's not a lookalike. Did you know the actor Yul Brynner was a lifelong Liverpool fan and he never wore aftershave in his life? That's right, you'll never walk alone.
Oh, dear.
More Chinese proverbs. Everyone's an atheist until they clog a toilet at someone else's house. And breaking news, Irish magician's assistant dies after tragic accident.
That's good, that like.
I got an email explaining how to read maps backwards. It was spam.
Very good.
And news thump, Spanish STI rates plummet as fewer Britons choose EU holidays. I mean, how fast was the kid going? And the top three for me this week were this one: Jerry Springer already causing trouble in the afterlife. Let's bring out Mary's husband, Joseph. This one, my girlfriend said she's hanging out with a celebrity at the airport. Anyone know who he is?
Oh, dear me.
And the winner this week, bike still for sale. Yes, it is. What's the lowest you'll go on it? 2 miles an hour. Anything less than that, you'll tip over. Brilliant stuff. Keep them coming in. Thanks as always to Zara for all her support in the tweets of the weeks, and a few other special mentions: Jimmy, Dunnell, and a couple of others who will remain nameless. Steve, I'll come to you first, because this is a canny question from BT. We do like to get questions off people. The Premier League has since introduced fair market value assessment. What would Newcastle fair market be to include front of shirt, stadium naming rights, and agreement to cover the training complex?
I think we're going to be right. We're going to say, well, whatever Chelsea and Arsenal and Man United can have, we can have, whatever they're getting. You know, that it's a free market economy, and if somebody wants to pay us a colossal amount of money, like I think Chelsea got something like 40 million for the front of shirt per season. You know,
they're 12th in the league, though.
Sorry,
they're 12th in the league, though.
Yeah, I know. So we're obviously we're worth at least that, if not more, aren't we? You know, it's a ridiculous state of affairs when you've got an organisation like the Premier League trying to dictate what people can take in terms of revenue. You know, what right have they got? You know, if somebody wants to put money into a football club, then they should be allowed to put money into a football club. You shouldn't be restrictive. And you shouldn't be. I mean, who decides that an arbitrary figure for Newcastle United? Who decides that? Who's on the panel? Is it Richard Masters, who's just had a massive big pay rise? Is he on the panel? You know, Gary Hoffman, who got £388,000 just for walking away from the Premier League. You know, will they reintroduce him into a panel? You know, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I think if front of shirt, I think if Newcastle would be entitled to get anything up to 40 million. I think on the naming rights, I think you know, there's no reason why you couldn't get 25 to 30 million a year for the naming rights of your ground. I think you could have the naming rights. If you look at the likes of Everton, for example, I mean, a colossal amount of money just for the naming rights of that training ground. You know, the options are endless, but the restrictions are diabolical in my view. I think they've just been brought in to try and hold us in 7th place, and it's failed already. It's failed without even starting the restriction. We're sitting there in 3rd, you know. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we got 2nd. To be perfectly honest, I wouldn't be surprised. Just as mathematically Chelsea could go down, which I found a fascinating little thing in the papers this week. But no, I mean, it's. I just think that there shouldn't be. It shouldn't be allowed. I think they should. And I'm sure there's somebody not a million miles away who would be able to take a competition case and run with it on behalf of the football club. I think that would be an interesting one to look at.
Keith, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, Steve's covered most of it there, I think, really well.
I think the whole package is 125 million, and I think it's 50 for the shirt, 50 for the ground, and 25 for the training ground. And at 125 million, then 100 for getting in the Champions League, 225, it sorts your FFP out. But to put this in perspective, it's anti-competitive what they're doing, because what they're saying to people is that take John Payne, our mate, comes to the match from Hartlepool, cracking paint and decorator. Basically, he goes out on a Monday, he drives, he chooses how far he drives in his van, he chooses the distance that he wants to work from home, and he always talks about glossing being Luther Vandross, put the gloss on. He talks about easy work, about emotioning and doing this, and then other people talk about skim and sealings and all the rest. They price it however they see fit, but they also price it for whatever they can get away with. That's the rule of business. It's the rule of commerce. And I've done jobs for people, and I've said to people, look, I don't really want to do it. It's not what we do. And to do that, you would have to be highly profitable. And so you tell people that. It's a bit like Newcastle. Really, we don't want to sell the name of the ground, because Mike Ashley had troubles trying to do the name of the ground. So if we're going to do it, it'd have to be the right sponsor, and it would have to be like a Ramco St. James. It would have to be that kind of thing. But to do it, it's not worth doing for 20 million to upset the fans. It's something where we can get them on side if we get 50 million. And so that is different to the Reebok Arena or the, stadium. Like, you probably buy the stadium like for a tenner, but when Newcastle come along, there's history to the ground naming. So really, it's then down to where you're going to be next year. Well, 9 places above you, Chelsea, 2 places at least above you, Liverpool. So that means our figures go up. But when you get a panel of people who you compete with coming along to the authorising body like the EPL and saying, we want to vet how much Newcastle's worth and how much they've built, you're really trying to vet how excited it is to watch Newcastle. You're trying to say, was Keegan's era not worth more than Man City that same year? Yeah, because they were everybody's second favourite team. And when you put the advertising into that period at Newcastle, it would have brought brilliant revenue. So the truth of it all is, anything in life is only worth what someone's prepared to pay. When someone's prepared to pay more than what the others are getting, then you say good on them, and that sets a benchmark for you to try and increase your revenues. So what you're doing is you're pushing the bar up for everybody. So if Chelsea get 80 million for the front of the shirt, everyone will be trying to get the same. Why did we bring Peter Silverstone in? Because he'd done the Adidas deal, he'd done the shirt deal. And Newcastle looked at that and thought, right, he's got experience selling the Adidas brand, he's got experience in selling shirt sleeve sponsorships, he's got experience in selling ground name. And that's why you bring these people in. But you don't bring them in to say you're governed because your turnover is the same as Aston Villa's or something like that. You go in there, you say, fill your boots. And to turn around to somebody else and say, well, we're going to do it based on what the levels are at the minute, that's ludicrous. That is absolutely ludicrous. If that was the case, Rolex watches would never go up in price. They would all stay at the same price. but they go up, and Rolexes go up more because it's rare. They go up more because they get older. And what happens is, you know, how much did your mum and dad pay for the house when they first bought the house? $1 grand, $2 grand, $3 grand. And now it's so many $100 grand. So what happens is you're really trying to peg people back. And when you peg somebody back and your competitors have a say in it, it becomes anti-competitive. So to me, somebody one day is going to run an anti-competition case. I tell you what, it'll be mayhem. There's all shit going to fly, and there's going to be fans put on full blast, and the brown stuff's going to fly around the room and catch everybody. But I do not see how a KC at the top of his game in competition law is going to allow the people he compete with to say what Newcastle's levels are. The people that should determine that is the man who's willing to pay the check.
Yeah, you're nodding away, Joe.
Yeah, fascinating education as always. I still want it to be the Steve Wraith NUFC Matters Thunderdome just to piss everybody off.
I'll have to borrow some money off Keith.
Well. Yeah, I mean, anyway, I'm going to attempt to talk about business on the same panel as you guys, and I can't.
You can.
But very simply though,
I feel like that Orville song for some reason there. Go on.
Yeah, I will check with Fly.
Can fly.
But I do, you know, the guys are right. Surely in a free market, surely it's up to me what I pay for an advertising hard, and it's at St James's Park. Yes, there'll be a going rate. I know companies are rich, but they're not stupid. There's a reason that they're rich. But actually, we sell more shirts than anybody else. We're going to sell more gear if it's going to be Adidas, I'm sure. We're tapping into markets that we've never tapped into before. You know, Middle Eastern markets. We're going to go nuclear in America. The Premier League we've talked about in recent weeks on this show with these ludicrous television deals and stuff. The brand is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if I own a company and I want to be part of that, I'm going to have to pay for it. So I'm trying to remove the bias to this, but I think if I did own a multinational company and I was looking for some advertising, Newcastle United's a pretty safe, pretty sure bet, particularly if we go into the Champions League, particularly if in 3-5 years' time, or if you Pato next season, we win the Champions League. People are going to be crawling all over us. And I agree, Darren Eales, but Peter Silverstone, they were brought in to do a specific job for a specific reason. So, you know, your £6 million a season, Fun 88 sponsorship deals, they'll just pale into absolute insignificance. If you look at, I noticed on the Manchester City bench in the game that this week, they've got a different sponsorship on the training tops and on the tracksuits, and they've got the sleeve sponsorship. We've talked in the past about Manchester United having official track sponsorships and sock manufacturers and God knows what. Why not? Why not? Because I tell you what, Newcastle United is a brand at the moment that you absolutely want to be tapping into. That's why Amanda Staveley wanted to buy it, and that's why PIF have took the bait. So for me, I think it's magnificent. And listen, you know, we can talk all day long about St James's Park. Yes, you know, it was never what Mike Ashley did, because actually what Mike Ashley did when he renamed it, if he'd have renamed it and said, oh, and by the way, there's 100 million and there's Kylian Mbappe, we might have been slightly less pissed off about it. So if I was to see Lionel Messi, for example, stood at the NUFC Matters Thunderdome, but it was that money that made him stand there, I'd be less pissed off than I was when Sports Direct cheapened the gaff. So I'm just looking forward to it. I think if we can get anywhere near, I mean, in my head, my simple business head goes, right, if we get 10 million, that's 4 million more than we got off Fun 88. But why should we? We're a football club now that needs to be aiming for the stars. So actually, if Aramco or Keith Patterson Limited, whatever, wants to give us, you know, a £5 would be nice off you, Pato. But if people want to give us 35 million to sponsor us, bring it on. So yeah, 120 million. But I'd like to think we sit here in 3 seasons' time thinking, do you know what? We're the first club to win £200 and £300 million sponsorship deals, because that's where we'll be at that point.
Dead right.
Good point.
Mitch?
Look, I'll put another twist on it. the interest in sponsorship for Newcastle United comes from the entire Gulf region. I said this before. IAF would be delighted to have us as seen as the Gulf's club, not just Saudi Arabia's club, the Gulf's club, and two fingers to Abu Dhabi and Man City.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see that the people interested in the shirt sponsorship and the names being linked, there's now 4 names in the hat. Emaar, Majid Al Futtaim, Qatar Airways. That would be a huge shake-up for a load of different reasons. And Emirates Airways. Qatar don't have a sponsor in the Premier League and haven't had, and they would like to. It's the biggest league in the world and it's the most exposed. Emirates have got a slot free. They took their sponsorship off Hamburg when they got relegated. Hamburg got relegated from the Erste Bundesliga 2 seasons ago. They were told, get back to the Erste Bundesliga in one go. You'll keep the sponsorship. They didn't, and it's been pulled. So they've got some money burning hole in their pocket. And that would be 2 fingers up to Abu Dhabi from Dubai, to be fair. Very regionally delicate, but quite clearly the interest in sponsoring Newcastle United is from the Gulf. How can somebody sat in London assess the value? How can somebody sat in London assess the value of a Noon for 7 million on their shirt sleeve? They can't. Noon is regionally based, it's Gulf based, it has no presence outside of the Gulf. If you want to know what impact that's had on Noon, their last quarter is their best quarter for the last 2 years. Now, are you telling me that's got nothing to do with the fact that they've got on our shirt sleeve, that name is seen around the Gulf every time we take to the pitch, every time there's highlights, every time Keys and Gray are waffling in the background about something nonsensical, but that name's getting exposure. And so how can they say in London, 7 million, well, is that really worth it? They don't know and they can't assess it. So how the hell can they? There's just nothing they can do. And we certainly have everything up for grabs. We've got stadium stands, training ground. The guy I was speaking to through the week who tried to introduce the company to Amanda Staveley was basically told, if you're not interested in shirt sponsorship, everything's on the table. And that's clever. That's looking at the revenue streams we've never had before. But I'm telling you now, a lot of those sponsors will be like Moon. There'll be people you won't have heard of. Now, it might be different that when it comes to, say, an airline like Qatar or Emirates, of course you've heard of it. But some of the big companies here in the region, and there are bigger ones again, who've got money burning holes in their pockets, like Moon, you guys wouldn't necessarily know the name straight away, unless you've stumbled across an ad when you've been on holiday in the region or something like that, or you've worked in a sector where they've had to work with them. And I think right now, for us, it's fascinating to see while Man United are twerking for Qatari money, which isn't going to happen, by the way, because 19 Foundation. But that's another matter. But, you know, it's just fascinating to see them all go through it. But how could the Premier League assess it? They can't. They've got no idea. They've got no idea what a 7 million investment in Newcastle United might do for a company here in the Middle East. Like I say, you know, Noon have had their best quarter in years. And the only thing that's changed is more people are aware of their name because it's on our shirt sleeves.
Yeah, Noon also got a lot more exposure because of the idiots in the VAR room. Every time there's a dodgy decision that involves the ball hitting the arm, it's there, isn't it? You know, they're not daft. I knew that the VAR people were going to try and stick with it every time.
The gentleman who owns Noon, Mohammed Alabaz, no. You know, he's invested with Uber, he's invested with a number of different property companies around the Gulf. The guy knows what he's doing from a business and investment point of view, but he's also very regionally focused, when like a lot of these companies will be. And there's no way, absolutely no way, somebody sat in London at the Premier League can assess what it's worth to that company. In fact, some of those companies might be willing, because it's worth it to them, to pay more. And I think this is where it gets complicated. I think we're pitching ourselves at just the right spot. That bottom end of the so-called big six, but above everybody else, that's not being too greedy. And it's sort of taken into account that, yeah, we're well ahead of schedule. We're 2-3 years ahead of schedule for me. But if we got Champions League on the table, there's absolutely no reason why we couldn't turn around and say, well, we should be getting more than Chelsea because they don't have Champions League this season. So
And they're 12th in the league.
Exactly. And so this whole idea of what a fair assessment is, it's a movable feast, isn't it?
If it wasn't for Tuchel, they would go down. It's the 10 points he got that's kept them up.
Right.
Yeah. But this is where a clever deal can be struck, because you turn around and you say, right, well, we're being, somebody's trying to limit us. They've got the limiter on and saying, you're only allowed, say, let's say it said 25 million. But who's to say we can't have a contract that with some of these guys it says, and you know what, if we get into the next round of the Champions League, it's worth a little bit extra. And then if we get into the quarter-final stage, there's another bonus and things like that. And this is where Silverson and the rest of them will be rolling that corn, because they'll be structuring deals with those sort of added bonuses in exactly the same way as if you don't qualify for the Champions League, Chelsea, then all of a sudden that 40 million shirt deal suddenly drops to 18 or 20. So we'll have our guys will be working on stuff, and behind the scenes that they'll know whatever the restrictions are that the Premier League are trying to enforce. They'll know that there's definitely ways around all of that, clever ways, but intelligent ways.
If Chelsea get up to as high as the 11th, will they get more money for climate?
They get to choose a manager. That's their reward.
It's properly ridiculous when you hear Aston Villa's CEO whinging and whining when he was the guy that got Chelsea a 900 million deal at one point in the past, where he's quite happily taking money off Roman Abramovich. It's bullshit. It's utter bullshit.
But who's created the system where the Premier League itself can sell its product to the highest bidder for whatever it wants to Amazon or whatever, without the cap on earnings, and we can't? How does that work?
Yeah, it's just horseshit.
Well, it's interesting. I find this fascinating that it's all happening because of Newcastle United, basically. And when these people open their mouths, my instinct is, what's he doing wrong? Why is he shouting, let's investigate him, like the bloke at Aston Villa, like Parish at Crystal Palace? Oh, he wants to investigate. Okay, we'll investigate him as well at the same time. They all open their mouths and they're actually putting their necks to the noose, really. The other side of it I'd like to see is, where does the English Premier League get some of these ideas? Who they've been talking to? I'd love to see some of the emails going into the Premier League from some of the big six about this sort of thing. Have some of them suggested this is what needs to be done, or is it their idea? Because the FA and the Premier League, they all have a bad record in new ideas. I mean, as far back as I can remember, as far as I can remember, my first game was in 1945, FA Cup game against Barnsley, and it was the first leg of the third round of the FA Cup, right? First leg of a two-leg FA Cup. So we went to Barnsley for the second leg, and then when one of the other rounds drew, they couldn't make their mind up whether or not the replay would be two legs or one leg, or whether it would be at that ground or this ground. And of course, with all these extra games going on, and the pitches in those days were like middens. They were all up to their knees in bloody mud. They couldn't play games anyway, and that was an FA idea, So they cloned their own likeness, as far as I'm concerned. And as soon as these people start whinging, I'd say, right, okay, let's investigate him. Let Newcastle. You see, the beauty of Newcastle United is Keith and others on here have said before, is PIF are an open book. Amanda Staveley is an open book. We know who they are. We know what they're doing, and they're making it plain that people should know that. Yeah. I wish other clubs could do the same, and they can't. That's the trouble. They can't.
George, last week, Aston Villa came on and they were lobbying, and afterwards I went to the pub and a bloke come in, he says, he's a madam. And so he had about 5 attempts to say a sentence and he got it out in the end, and I listened to him. And what I think the sentence amounted to was, you're going to get closed down. And I says, great. I know your brain and your tongue, the joint between snapped a couple of times, but I says, just explain this to me because I'm always wanting to learn. I says, when Aston Villa lobby the Premier League and they stop Newcastle's takeover and reverse it, because that's what they all lobbying for.
Yeah.
Talk us through, I says, because you think you're clever, talk us through what happens then. So go home, Piff. Who gives Piff the 280 million? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Just tells who gives her the million. And then who pays Amanda and Murdad off, and then who pays the Rubens off, and then who gets the club? And who is this people? Because Newcastle's value now is about 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
It's gone up fivefold. So when they undo the takeover, they'll have to put 1.5 billion, because that would be commercially ethical, to pay them the market value. Who takes over? And what happens to the people? Like, who pays Amanda and Murdad's employment contract up? Because they've got an employment contract. You know what it is? These people sit there and you've got a complete bubble of seamen sitting on a bloody interview with Sky, professing that he's running the Premier League. He's got history himself, and he says, I think it should be investigated. The question wants to be asked them people. So we investigated, and what happens? How do you want us to do it? And I think they want.
Yeah.
I think they want someone to shoot all the owners in the head and then put some new owners in. Who chooses and funds it? Like, that takeover can't be reversed. Like Man City's, they would like to change Man City's, but that won't get reversed either. And the Crystal Palace Delaware Cup, they won't get reversed. Nothing's getting reversed.
What's going on with Man City at the minute? 100 charges, tucked under a very lumpy carpet. They've got a betting partner that's been proved that they didn't exist.
Yeah.
And that websites were being run from a server in Abu Dhabi. That's gone quiet. There's loads.
I tell you,
when are the Premier League going to get off their arses and do something? Not refer it out, not delay it, not obfuscate.
Well, what's happened to Man City is what will happen if they come at Newcastle. Man City's pockets are deeper than all of theirs, and they can't dance toe-to-toe with Man City in a law court. So Man City will employ people to say, mess them around and slow it down. And when you give lawyers enough money, they can make it impossible for you to get something heard. They can drag it, and the expedition goes out the window. Man City will dance around the Premier League, and eventually they'll get a paltry fine. They can't even get Everton. They've given Everton an independent panel. They couldn't even get Everton in. Everton got a penny to scratch the arse with. So there's nothing to worry about Newcastle. I tell you.
No.
When people talking about me about closing down, and I just laugh. I just burst out laughing. I said, it's eating your insides out, isn't it, son? I said, it's going to get a lot worse. I'd move away because it's going to get loads worse.
I tell you what, we're not going to end up in a situation the likes of Roma or Milan, who they've just pulled their shirt sponsors this week, because it turned out they'd signed €50 million contracts with a company that basically didn't exist, a company that hasn't paid them a penny, some NFT ridiculous.
Well, and hence why one of the things we know that Newcastle and Amanda have done in the last couple of weeks is turned down Binance as a sponsor, because it's not the kind of thing they want to be associated with.
Yeah, and that's the due diligence that they're taking. Yeah, crazy.
While we're talking about this, one thing I want to do is just big shout out to Johnny Allen. He'll be watching the show tonight from his hospital bed.
Yeah.
Yo, Johnny.
All the best to you, mate, and thinking about you. I'll see you next week.
All the love in the world, John.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's had a text backwards and forwards. I know you've been in to see him, Keith, but we're sending our love, John. Everybody in the chat does. Everybody keeps asking how you're doing, mate. I'm sure you will get there in the end, kidder. Okay, halfway through the show, time for the ads. A big shout out to all our sponsors. Thanks to Skips and Bins. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can order them from their website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by calling 01768 210 102. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video technology. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. If you enjoy the show, please hit the little thumb under the video and like the video. Click share to share to your other social media, or subscribe. It's free and we do 7 shows a week. If you want to become a member, you can click join underneath this video. There are different packages to suit all different pockets. And if you want to become a cult member, then put your smartphone over the QR code. It'll take you straight there to the website, which is nufcmatters.com. If you go in via the website, just click membership pack. What do you get for your money? You get a pen, you get a cup, you get a membership card and a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw. Don't forget, we are available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. And we also support the food bank on this show. NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk is where you'll find the matchday bucket. You can make a virtual donation today. We've also got some events coming up over the next couple of months. An evening with Peter Beardsley at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets available from newcastlelegends.com, or go to Voucher and get a 40% discount. Our end of season due is the 27th of May at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are a tenner from nufcmatters.com. An evening with Gavin Peacock takes place on July the 10th at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets from nufcmatters.com for that event. And the following night, Gavin will be at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe. Go to their website for ticket information. We've got a vast range of t-shirts, merchandise and memorabilia available at our website. The Isaac t-shirt is doing well. Go to nufcmatters.com to buy one today. I've had a few messages this week about when's your film coming out? We haven't got a date yet. We have got the trailer, which I'm sure most of you will have seen. But we've got the final trailer before we get the release date is here. It's a minute long. I'll play it now. Here you go. So it'll be out in the summer, folks. I will let you know when the release date is. Looking forward to it myself because I don't want to see it in the edit. So I am looking forward to it. Let the director and the producer get on with it. That was my motto. I've done my bit. Okay, I've got a wonderful Day I Met. If you hate the music, put your fingers in your ears. If you like it, turn your TV or your computer up now. The day I met, where I asked you to send in photographs of you meeting somebody from Newcastle United, past or present. I got 2 this week. This was a great one from my mate Kyle Hughes. He's a session drummer who works all over the world. And he was having a chat about me, apparently, but with Robbie Elliott watching the match in LA. Geordie's in force, he said. Me and Robbie Elliott. Big shout out to both Kyle and Robbie. Great to see you two together. And this was the one that touches the heart, I think, of everybody who's seen it. And I did ask for permission to put this up. Hope this is appropriate. Just to thank you to Kieran Trippier for making my triplet granddaughters happy and my son even happier. Someone has named them the Trippierlettes.
Oh, great. Wow.
That's the best photo I have seen this year. It really is.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Thanks to the dad for getting in touch and saying it was okay to show the photo. I wouldn't like to show photos like that without permission. Yeah. But thank you so much. Honestly, that really made me smile this week. Absolutely fantastic. And no surprise to see that somebody like Kieran Trippier stops and poses for a photograph like that. But that was absolutely brilliant. Really made the heart warm, that one. Okay, if you've got a photo, please send them in and we will endeavour to show them on the show. David Cook, I see you're in the chat. I showed your photograph, David, so you'll have to watch from the start of the show. Your photograph did make it onto the show, mate. Yes, George.
I was just going to say that example you've just given is kind of thing I love and gets me going for a lot of reasons.
Fantastic, isn't it?
But it contrasts very, very much with what I've been doing this week, digging on how much clubs charge for kids to be mascots.
All right, well, go on. I mean, listen, George, we like people to start. This is never planned, this show. So let's go down that rabbit hole. Tell us what the crack is.
Everton, 700 quid. Whoa. You're gonna pay 700 quid for your bairn to be a mascot at Everton. West Ham, 700 quid, and it goes down the list. There's about 20 that charge anything from 300 to 700 quid, and there's a little list at the bottom. Newcastle, Arsenal, Manchester City, and one other free. We don't charge anything. And when you look at what they get for the 700 quid, it's a couple of tickets for the match, a shirt, a team shirt, and one or two. Nothing worth the 700 they're being charged, in my view. In fact, when I posted this, I got quite a lot of heat from fans of various clubs. Reminding us how see how old sorry I am. Well, I'm sorry. And the contrast for me is just what you've done. Kieran Trippier, top-notch footballer, stops and does that for those three little girls. Fantastic. Yet other people are making money out of it, to my mind. I think that's just sheer greed. It really needs put to bed. I just find it appalling. Anyway, sorry to have a rant like that, but it just got my goat when I saw it.
Well worth mentioning, and that's disgusting. George says, David, the mascot payment is scandalous by some clubs, says Steve Middlemas. Lots of people want to talk transfers, George, and potential signings. Neil Calvert says, question for you all. Why do Newcastle's names keep getting mentioned with the likes of Neymar, Ronaldo? Not the type of players that he wants, lazy journalism or clickbait. Doug Hall says, Steve, do the lads think we should sign our transfer deals up like how Pedro's completed his? £35 million move to Brighton as soon as possible. BT says, since joining Leeds last summer from Zurich for £3.8 million, should Newcastle be interested in signing Gonando? Should Leeds be relegated at the end of the season? So many to get rid of, says Barry. I would disagree with Kraft after hearing Eddie Howe today. I don't think he's going anywhere, Barry, but he says Hendrick, Lascelles, Gillespie, Hayden. Rumours of Gillespie signing a new contract today. I don't know whether that's true. Somebody mentioned it in the chat earlier. Dubravka and Richie. Richie's going nowhere if you listen to Eddie Howe today. Transfers. I mean, we're always going to get linked. That's nothing new, getting linked with big names, is it, George? It doesn't mean they're coming. Well, and Eddie clamped down on that today, didn't he?
It always has been something that we got, but the difference now is we're actually in that market. We're in that place where not only are we being named, the players, if we wanted to buy them, we could buy them. If we really wanted them, we could. The owners could buy them, but they're not going to. They've got a pattern, and they know what they want. And my view now is that all of this stuff that comes out on all of the social media platforms and in the newspapers is you've said it. It's either lazy journalism or clickbait, or somebody just wants to set a rabbit running to see what they can find. And 9 times out of 10, they don't get anywhere. I think the Joe Pedro one for me, had he come when it was rumoured we were interested in, I think that would have been fine. But once he prevaricated, I think Newcastle owners and the people that look after our players say, well, okay, you've had your choice, you've had your chance, goodbye, go somewhere else, we'll look somewhere else. Like the kids that's at PSG who didn't want to come here. I can't say we're going back for him. And as to all the other stuff, the Messis, the Ronaldos, and the Neymars, forget it. I mean, that's just absolute tripe. I mean, who's going to pay that sort of money for people that are on their way out anyway? So no, you hit the nail on the head, Steve. It's lazy journalism, it's clickbait, it's all of that. But the only names I take notice of nowadays are the ones that come out of St James's Park and nowhere else, because everybody else is just thrown at it. As I said, the nice thing is, it's us, it's Newcastle United being associated, and we're in a position to say, well, we could buy them if we wanted to, but we don't want to. That's the difference.
Yeah, I would agree. Liam the other day did say that, Barry, but I mean, he's not going to say anything other than that, is he? I mean, Liam's probably the straightest journalist I know, and he's going to stick up for people, and people maybe don't deliberately make them up, but they might get a bad lead, shall we say? That's probably the best way to describe it. Yeah, I mean, Mitch, Ronaldo, Neymar, we laugh it off. I mean, you know what my attitude's always been. I do find it hard doing 2 months of bloody transfer speculation on here. I have to do it because I'm a podcaster, but I do find it difficult when we get linked with 650 players, and we have to go through this whole process every few months.
It's lazy, it's easy. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that there'll be elements inside of PIF and inside of the Saudi element of the ownership that would love a marquee signing of some sort. The very fact that Ronaldo went to, I don't know, chose the wrong team in Saudi, if you ask me. And they're now speculating that Messi may be talking about going to Hilal, but I think he wants to go back to Barcelona. Always seriously talking to Neymar. Interesting way to increase our Brazilian contingent, but I can't see it personally. Listening to Brentford's director of football on the High Performance podcast last week, was Geordie, by the way, talking about the players they want to bring in, and they seem to have a similar no dickheads policy to the one that we have. I think an interview with Dan Ashworth would probably reveal something very similar. I just don't see it. Also, I think you've got to understand we probably are still in a little bit of flux about where do we commit on the transfer front, because qualification for Champions League is going to change things dramatically. Qualification for Champions League probably changed the transfer plan and the transfer budget significantly. And I think the fact we haven't gone in for Pedro when there's been concrete interest elsewhere, I think probably also says that Ekitike, think twice, mate. You're not coming back here again. I think once you've lost your chance, you've lost your chance. I don't see us as being a group of people who go back for seconds. I think we go forward and we look forward and we move on. But I do very much feel that there's probably an A list and a B list at the minute, depending on where we end up at the end of the season, where we'll try and action the transfers. So we can't really jump in unless we had somebody like, if we were still keen on Pedro and there was still a relationship there with the agent and the player, and we thought he would be a great addition to make, I'm quite sure would have been in talks. But I also get the distinct impression Brighton are overpaying. Watford haven't had a brilliant championship season. He hasn't stood out in the championship this season, really, for me. I had the intense displeasure of accidentally tuning into 15 minutes of Sunderland versus Watford recently, and it was turgid, I think is the word I would pick. Nobody lit anything up on the pitch there, and if that's what that's been like all season, yeah, have we dodged a bullet? You never know. Some players go to the right club at the right time. I'm quite sure Brighton think they've got a real good prospect on their hands. The way we were looking at that is potentially, but I think our aspirations are looking in a very different way at the moment. And I think that's what's going to determine where we'll go transfer-wise, because I just get this feeling Champions League qualification is going to really change the game for us on the transfer front, as well as other ways as well.
Okay, what's your thoughts on the old transfer window, Joe?
I'm just terrified you're going to ask me to do another transfer show. I haven't recovered yet.
2 months of that for you, mate.
Cheers, buddy. It's interesting, isn't it, that we're not at a transfer window yet. And one of the things we picked up on, Steve, was the sheer volume of people that you get linked with. Last time I checked, there's still, 5 games of this season to go before the window even thinks about opening. And yet we've already been linked with every player that's ever owned a pair of football boots, I think. So it's going to be one of them summers, let's be honest. Judging by recent signings, and I will include Anthony Gordon in that, it's going to be a very exciting transfer window, and one in which I think, as Keith was talking about earlier, one that's just going to enhance this squad, probably over and above any other Newcastle squad that we've ever experienced, I would have thought. But in terms of who it is, in terms of how much, in terms of where we're signing them from, who knows, Steve? I'd like to think that Dan Ashworth knows. I would hope Eddie Howe knows, certainly part, and Steve Nixon will know. Other than that, we can talk all day long about who we're getting, who we're not getting, who we want, who we need, who we think's better than who, etc., etc. But I tell you what, if there's Alexander Isaacs out there, there's Bruno Guimaraes is out there, who, I'll be brutally honest, I didn't know a massive amount, rarely heard, certainly in terms of Guimaraes' case. And look what they've done. Look what they've done for the team. Look what they've done for the club, and look what they're going to go on and achieve for us. Sven Botman, I'll put him in that category as well. Kieran Trippier was arguably the best signing Newcastle have made in the last 30 years. My biggest, one of my biggest things is I think this will be the summer where Eddie Howe's this whole thing about the dressing room and the cohesion and the collectiveness might just get tempted, because and Mitch will know more about this than me, but ultimately Saudi Arabia will want a bigger yacht than their friends in Dubai currently own, or whatever. And in footballing terms, does that mean that at some point somebody on that board is going to say, do you know what, I want to sign Ronaldo, I want to sign Neymar Jr., whoever else is available this summer? And then we'll get the test of the dressing room, we'll get the test of Eddie Howe's ability to stand up for what he thinks is right. Or PIF have said that they want Ronaldo, Dan Ashworth's hands are tied over it, and it's a done deal. So we'll see. I wouldn't be averse to signing any current footballers. I mean, some of the names that Keith mentioned, Oshiman, for example. Can you imagine signing the guy whose name I can't pronounce, the centre forward from Italy? Is it Dubaya or Dybala or something? These players are absolutely top class. The guy at Leverkusen that we were linked with all summer, Diaby, that name doesn't go away. What we do know is somebody is coming, and I'm really excited by it. And maybe, just maybe, Amanda's already alluded to it. I'm sure PIF are pushing for it. It's time to put the afterburners on, and maybe this summer might just be that summer. So, yes, I look forward to just laughing at you trying to pronounce names. That's always my favourite part of a transfer window. But you know what? We've got money, have cash, will spend, so bring it on.
Yeah, not wrong there, mate. I'm looking forward to that. Keith, I mean, Ronaldo, Neymar, it's not the first time we've been linked with him. I mean, was people doing mock-ups of a Ronaldo in the Newcastle strip and people going bonkers, but we've got to get used to it. It's going to be like this for a while.
I think it will be, but it'll only take 2 windows to blow that out the water, because if you look what's happening at the club, like everything, they're the most attacked club. They're the club that creates the most jealousy. They're the club that wannabes that want to break into Big Six like Villa will target. It's the club that Ventag, whatever they call him, Ten Hag, whatever. He can't resist a press conference without mentioning Newcastle. Klopp, constantly mentions Newcastle. But if you look at it closer to home, look at how that supporters club's grown. Newcastle United, NUFC. Look how that is on target to be the biggest supporters club in the country. It's so, as much as they criticise us, everybody else is just holding a beer and holding court and just thinking, just keep having a pop at us. But all of our fans are going to games, are talking sense. They know that Arsenal's going to be tough at the weekend, and they don't have a divine right, or they don't have this self-entitlement that seems as though it was tattooed on their asses when they joined the ASL, where they think that, you know, there's no relegations, no promotions. All Newcastle fans are saying is, wow, like him. And what we're looking at now is work rate, things like that. And what I've noticed, whilst there's a big surge for fans to get on board, and I think I look at the litmus test of that supporters club. Just every time you read it, the thing just grows and grows and grows. And I just love watching it. I love all the other people scurrying around, running elections and what have you, to try and be super fan. And Darren Curry's just said, I'm going to run a supporters club because I'm good at building thousands of people. And it's happening. And I just look at it and think, put all that together with what's happening on the pitch. I'm starting to hear, and I haven't got an opinion on this, but I'm starting to hear Newcastle fans say, I'm not too sure there's not better value out there than Maddison. And they watched Maddison in the game where he lost possession 5 times in a do or die game. And I'm thinking, if that been Longstaff 2 years ago, he'd have got slaughtered. But he's 60 million. And your McTominay is at 50 million. Your Harry Kane's 90 million. And when Harry Kane starts the season, he's 29-year-old. He's going to be 30 the day he kicked. Like in November this year, he's 30-year-old. And so, yeah, you'll get 2 years out of him, but you'll get no sell on. And that's why I say to you that I think at 90 million for Kane and 90 million for Osimhen, it's a no-brainer. I think Osimhen's the nearest in world football that can challenge Haaland. I think that's the kind of level you're aiming at. But you talk about pronunciations, Joe. There's one lad out there, and if you put his videos on, Szobosly, I think is how it is. Szobosly, they call him, and you put him on, and he's a midfield player that we don't have. We don't have that player, and he scores goals. You just type his name in that the kid there, and he's just, there's so many. But the reason I'm bringing people like that up and mentioning people like Yagart in Portugal is because they're now within reach. So I'm not some dreamer that thinks we've got to go. I don't want Neymar. I don't want Messi, and I don't want Ronaldo. I don't want none of them. I don't want Kane. And I don't want all these people that's done a couple of good years in England that become 60, 70, 80 million. What I want is, I want the culture. So if I was building Newcastle, I'd build it up on youth. I'd build it up on speed. I'd build it up on quality. I'd build it up on athleticism and pace. But the team spirit overrules all that. And that's why Dan Ash was recruiting more scouts than we've got players, because he's got everything. He's finding out every fart, where it came from, what it smelled like, which direction it flew in. And then he's finding out where these kids went to school, or were they married. They're going through it. They're doing these people. And I think this will be Dan Ashworth's window, this one. But I think what it'll be, I think Eddie Howe will be precious about his spirit. And I think Eddie Howe's neck, he likes bringing an English player in, but they're just too expensive, some of these players. They're ridiculous. Like if someone's telling me that McTominay is 50 million, Longstaff's not 60, then I think you want to stop drinking the sauce. Because Longstaff runs and runs and runs all day. And he's an absolute huge miss. But we're going to bring players in that's going to compete for Longstaff to get his game. And when you see Shelby's, we don't want to lose him. We had to lose him. He lost his pace. He slowed it all down. He couldn't do the high press. And people can have a pop at me, but that's where Eddie Howe's taken this team. And the way he'll add to this team is in European football. These players are in South America, and these players are in Italy, like Stephen Jones then mentioned. You've got strikers there, which is the world class, and that's where Newcastle have got to fish now. But the difference is, for the first time ever, and people talk about in the past, they'd rather win the Carabao Cup than get Champions League. You'll realise when we get Champions League this year what a huge difference it makes that the Carabao Cup would never have made. And the net now is wide open, and people are saying, I'll come to Newcastle. And all these great players, when they say where they're going to go, very soon it will be Real Madrid. But I don't think people's going to be bursting a gut like they did at the start of the season to go to Chelsea. Chelsea's a club in turmoil. Chelsea's a club with three managers. Spurs are a club with 3 managers in 3 months. So Newcastle have got this stable. They've got a young Brazilian that's come over and took a chance, and it's worked. They've got a kid out of Atletico Madrid that's come over, and he's proven that this is a step up from Atletico Madrid. Come on, this is a place to come. But the net's wide open now. Champions League, we can buy who we want. As George says, like there will be a lot of names hoid about, but how will always make sure it's someone to fit in that dressing room. There's no prima donna coming in that dressing room to upset the apple cart. It's just not going to happen. And to me, the next step is to go and buy 3 more of the ilk or better than our top players now. You put 3 quality players in that team, and this team floats next year. This team dances Champions League, and this team does damage in the Champions League. That's where we are. And this, just like you said earlier, Joe eloquently put it, is the Saudis, when they want something to get it. They're the richest people around. Like it or lump it, we love them, and the big players are coming to Newcastle.
And just say thanks to everybody in the chat. 626 watching live at the minute.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Unbelievable. Never take it for granted. Thank you, everybody. And thanks for some great comments in the chat. We'll try to get through as many as we can. I certainly get them all on the screen, but it's good to see you all having a bit of banter as well. And thanks to the moderators. Steve, transfer window. It's exciting these days. You know, we're not hoping we're going to get them over the line. And I genuinely believe what Mitch is saying there as well, you know, and I think McTominay, who we keep getting linked with, will be a thing of the past, you know, with Champions League, you know, almost secured, 2 more wins and we're there kind of thing. I think, you know, we'll be moving up a gear. We won't be looking for offcasts. And I think that's why João Pedro, who was a natural shout for a team that was maybe finishing in the top 10 and hoping they might get into Europa, is now a thing of the past, because we need better than that in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm listening to everything the lad said, and I cannot wait for a forward line next season of Neymar, Kane, Ronaldo, Messi, Wilson, and Isaac. I think it'll be perfect for the Champions League. I mean, the lads are dead right. I mean, you know what, Steve? What you haven't mentioned, you've talked about Eddie Howe's press conference.
Yeah.
Do you remember that little bit that he said, that little throwaway comment when he was asked about the type of players coming in, the linked with Messi or the linked with Neymar, etc. And he went, "I know who I want." You know, he implied that we already know, we already have a plan. I know how I want. I know where I want. I know what I want. What I'm doing, and that was him stamping, just letting them putting the foot back on the neck of the reporter and just saying, "Look, I'm in charge. You don't need to go there." I mean, what annoys me is when you get something which is basically a tweet from somebody, and then all of a sudden the press latch onto it. I got a bit ruffled during the week when I saw something that had been put out, and I thought, This was a nothing story, and then you've created 250 words on the back of a 20-word tweet, and it becomes a story, and then it becomes a gossip, it becomes a basically a chat room discussion and an opportunity for more hits. And I understand where Liam was coming from in terms of the press, and I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiment that you'll never find a reporter who just blatantly makes something up. But there is always the opportunity for someone to butter something a little bit thicker than the actual tale is, than the actual story is. And that's the situation that we're in. And I suppose it's just the way that it is now. Social media has created that, you know. It's not like the old days of Gibbo, where he was meeting Joe Harvey every single day, where he was chatting to him, where he was going for a coffee with him, or where he could ring up, where players were ringing him up and letting them know how fit they were or how unfit they were. You know, they were going out socially with players, with Malcolm and others, and Bobby Moncur and the squad and all that. It's different now. That in those days, the likes of Gibbo, they worked for that. They worked for the press. They worked for the stories. They went out looking for them. They drew the stories out. I think now it's just a case of they see 20 words in a tweet and they create a story from it. And and then it doesn't even become yesterday's chip paper. It just drifts away into the ether later on. But the rest of us are all excited because we've seen that particular name mentioned, and then another reporter will hook onto it because he's seen it, or it's been reported in the Mirror that, and you see the Mail saying it's been reported in the Mirror, and you see the Mirror saying it's been reported in the Sun, and switches, and it just explodes and just revolves, and then the rest will get caught up. What we do know is Newcastle United will certainly be growing the squad. They'll certainly be improving the squad. It's all about continuous improvement. That's what the situation is at Newcastle United. You continue to improve. You continue to improve your squad, bringing quality in, but it's got to be at the right price, the right people, and there's an awful lot more than just a case of we want him. How much is he? 70 million. You can have him. It's Newcastle, and this has happened for the last couple of seasons. They go out and they find out exactly what is behind that footballer, what is behind the head, what is inside the head, what sort of a player am I bringing into me dressing room. And that's just as important to Eddie Howe as the fact that he's going to cost 20 million, 50 million, 70 million, 100 million. He's more interested in what's in that player's head and what that's going to do for the rest of his squad and how it'll blend in. And that's the exciting part. It must be great being a Premier League manager with the backing of an owners like Newcastle United have got, especially in the current financial climate, that he's got that confidence as well, because also he's one of the few managers, you could argue Arteta, I suppose, but he's one of the few managers who has improved a team so much in the last 18 months to go from a relegation fodder team to now sitting there in the top three. And on Sunday, we play the team in second, playing the team in third. That's what it means, and that's huge for the rest of the country. But it's also huge for the Middle East and the rest of the world and all the international TV channels, because they're going to get a great spectacle of football at St James's Park with a crowd, and then don't forget all the other players around the world who are watching that game are going, "Wow, this is something to behold." Playing for a club like that, with the support that they've got, with the atmosphere that they create, with the type of football that their managers got them playing, I wouldn't mind being part of that. And that's what Eddie Howe will want to hear. And that's what he'll be doing.
There's something you said there, Steve, about the journalism. I agree with it. There's people throw a name out, and like Mitch hit it, he's mentioned a couple of times, the McTominay thing. Like you watch it, you think, God, not that again. It's the same old stories. But Steve Ray said earlier that Liam was always the one we could trust, and he would never just throw stories out. He always had the credibility, and that's why we learned to like him. But I tell you what, he's handed the baton over to a cracking kid. Watch what Jordan Cronin does. That's out all the people I read. Watch what he does. He's the one lad who always knows the team better than anybody else. He only puts stuff out he knows. He doesn't guess. And it's as though Liam Kennedy's got a clone when he's handed the baton over to that young lad to take over. He's only a young'un, but I tell you what, he's one of the most credible journalists on the plot. If anyone wants to keep up to date with Newcastle and not buy bullshit and just get it real, because he does meet the team and he meets the coaches. And I tell you what, young Cronin's got some hellish contacts. Like he gets proper information, and he's got to be careful how he uses it. But that lad is to me the up and coming journalist in this area.
Oh yeah, and he's great. And he's great conversation after the match.
Yes,
when you meet after the match, we have great conversations with him in the Strawberry when they've popped in. And the good thing with Liam is, and people don't realise, but you might hear a rumor and you can ring Liam up and you go, "Do you think there's any credibility to this?" And Liam will tell you straight, "No,
just say nah,
nothing in it, nothing in it." Don't even go there, Steve.
He's discounted more rumours of people who's come to Newcastle and completely poured cold water on them quicker than anybody. That's what Liam's done. But this young lad, this Jordan Cronin, is doing exactly the same. So I would urge everyone to follow him, because I tell you what, like he's not usually wrong. He's very calm and he's not guessing like all the journalists seem to do.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
for that.
I'm blessed with Ali Khaled out here at the Arab News as well. I can do exactly the same with him.
Yeah.
I can get hold of Ali Khaled and say, "This is bullshit, or what?" And he'll always come straight at us. Me boys.
Good stuff. It's time for that rough part of the show for Steve Hasty now. I'm not going to start with you, Steve. I'm going to easy win gently. Rio Ferdinand and Joseph Goebbels from Tom Dixon.
Classic reference.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Fantastic. It's very lifelike. Lookalikes Nacho Monreal and Peter Crouch. I had to look at that. Like, that's brilliant, Tom.
Yeah.
Excellent. That proper lookalike. Ferrari Enzo and Mesut Ozil. I'm sure I've had that one before, Tom, but it is still a very, very good lookalike. And that's harsh, lad. That is harsh.
Yeah, no.
And I'm sure that one's been done before as well.
Yes,
a long time ago, yeah. Chris Kamara and Lionel Richie.
All night long.
Of course, will be part of the King's coronation as well. Keith Patterson, simply the best, says that. He's had a great week, Albert. Ian Russell says, two lookalike. My mate's just seen a Bruno lookalike working in a restaurant in Portugal. Dear me, Ian. I mean, I don't think Bruno would be too happy with that comparison, to be fair.
It's quite canny.
He's better groomed, isn't he?
Get the dogs on, man.
He's better groomed. German midfielder Mesut Ozil and Buster Keaton. Very good. Again, I'm sure we've had that one in the past. Alan Thompson from Fans Forum. Very good, David. We seem to be getting people coming on trying to compare people to the Fans Forum. They're becoming quite famous. Jan Sommer and Rafael Nadal.
Yeah, very
excellent,
good.
That.
Good.
Really good. This one's doing the rounds as well from Stu Penman.
That's good, that one.
Tell you what, there's more ballroom in his underpants than what's in the Blackpool Tower.
It is. It's frightening, that, by the way. Do you look like it? Joe Walker, says Jimmy. Joe, let's have a look. Hey, I tell you what. I didn't even think I was removing the photo. Hey, Jimmy, that's brilliant, mate. It hasn't won. It's a good one. Sam Smith in Walmart being stalked by the ghost of Meatloaf.
Oh, my God.
Clearly do anything for love, Tom. Thanks for sending us that. And this was brilliant. Matt's House of Horrors, Bella and Mitch. That's crass. Amazing. He's thought of that straight away and gone, that looks like Mitch. That looks like Bella Lugosi. Poland manager as well, Mitch.
Well, take that one. Aye.
Take that one, yeah. Lookalike, Brighton manager Roberto De Zerbi and Huey Morgan of the Fun-Loving Criminals.
That is good.
Very good. I love this.
No animals on, like.
Maybe. I always wondered what happened to the Kiki Banjo kid from the movie Deliverance. Again, brilliant. Steve Hasty, Stu carrying Mitch out of a bar from Jimmy.
Never happened.
And he's stewing.
Jimmy Moore.
Albert's creepiest one of the week.
Oh my God, I don't know. Look at that.
That is creepy.
Me being Bruno's Ben.
I mean,
Ben.
You look very cross there as well, like, but Albert.
Bruno's miss just knocked out the 16-year-old.
And then you're taking your last with you to the coronation, he asked.
Right.
Come back, Steve, haven't started yet. A very dapper Ricky Gervais stood on the right. Pretty good, that, Tom, as well. Thanks for your contributions this week, mate. Tranmere manager and Atletico Madrid keeper Jan Oblak. Very good.
Camilla Parker Hasty.
Another one of Mitch. One for Lookalike. Mitch and the steward at the Toon game at the weekend. Again, that's pretty good, that, Mitch.
Would like to have been at the game, like.
Exactly, so.
Very good. Again, sure I've had that one before, but thank you for that. This one from Rita. Excellent, Rita. You even styled the hair of your troll there, I see. And Theo Walcott and Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Rita.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
This one being sent in. A few people sent this one in. Mitch on the photo for tonight's show is Hyacinth Bouquet from Keeping Up Appearances.
John is literally obsessed with that female picture version of me.
Yes.
Good luck for the weekend, Sir Albert. To Keith Patterson.
Your Majesty.
Another one off the fans forum. Lookalike of Vince from Monday's show. And that's a good one from Paul, Superior Paul. Very good, that. Excellent. We're getting a few of these, Brighton manager. Argentina's Luis Suarez and Drew Scott.
Very good.
Excellent. I can feel the tension in Keith's household. Can't believe that as a child in Greece had me thinking these people were teenagers. That was a late submission for Tweet of the Week, which has ended up in there. But yeah, thanks for that. And Steve Hasty. Great to see Steve taking on a pride dog.
Who does that to the dog?
Oh,
Steve Hasty
dear
again.
me.
More than one person, it seems, Keith.
And Steve
Oh my
on the
God!
spinach.
I mean, it does have the same. It does have a hasty haircut, but what
Does
you
it, man?
doing?
What are you on about?
It is, man. Camilla, set
Yeah,
yourself.
man.
Set
There we
yourself. I
go.
won't turn up at the wedding.
Some great pictures, Toon Boy, there. Thank you very much for them. This one, Miss Piggy tribute, Hasty. He's gone for a Miss Piggy tribute. He's just added Hasty at the end because it's a dog.
There's some odd people out there.
Oh, God.
I think that one speaks for itself. I had a couple which I've submitted this week. I was out for a meal with the missus last weekend, and I sat at the table and I went, "My God, Steve! There's Steve on the wall."
He sent us that.
And then I was watching the TV this morning. They were talking about the coronation, and there's Steve again.
Me in 20 years' time.
Anyway, back to the dogs. Thanks for the.
That one on the right, man. How weird.
God, brilliant, and it's very
Yeah,
cute.
the one on the left as well.
David Shepherd from Keithy says, "Don't blame me. I just received them." It's a sheep.
It's a sheep.
Sam Chipperfield's been on those websites again. Hasty on the bus enjoying his free bus pass. He says, "Take your pick. It could be any one of three there in a line."
I used to worry about Sam, but I didn't worry about him at all.
Don't know who he is, but he's a canny lookalike. And Sam Chipperfield again. Steve Hasty caught a gust of wind.
Yeah, fair enough.
And Toon Boy, Cruella Hasty. And thanks to Julie for this one. When she was up in Newcastle last week, she bumped into Steve, but he ignored her.
Yeah. You know what?
I sport her outside the field, man. Give her a cuddle.
Hasty drunk again, didn't make it home.
Yeah. I tell you, close athlete.
Albert Hasty.
Oh.
Hasty getting back from graft.
Oh, man. Oh.
And the winner of the Hasty section is this one from Mark Byers. Thanks, Mark.
Absolute ringer.
I missed that on Twitter, he said, so he's had to send it on WhatsApp. But thanks for that. Okay, the top 4 this week, absolutely belters. Couldn't separate them. Number 4. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Like that one. That was number 4. Number 3. If anybody's watching I'm a Celebrity in a Minute.
Nope.
Mason Verger and Janice Dickinson.
Oh, my God. Poor lass. Poor lass.
Number 2. Excellent. Honestly, very light. And the freakiest one, but the best one this week was from NUFC Geordie. Ed Sheeran lookalike.
Hey, I tell you what,
It is.
I've got to be honest, I think that's a Snapchat filter, but I'll take it anyway. Thanks, everybody, for sending that in, sending your lookalikes in. The more dogs, the better, please. Okay, 15 minutes to cram the look ahead to the game in. So we'll start with Toon Stato.
Hello amigos, greetings from sunny Barcelona. Newcastle take on Arsenal in the pursuit of Champions League football in one of the biggest games of this legendary season. We drew 0-0 in the first game against Arsenal, and we haven't kept 2 clean sheets against them in a single season since 85-86. If we don't lose the game on Sunday, it's going to be our first season against them undefeated since 2010-2011, when we won 1-0 at the Emirates and we famously drew 4-4 at home. If we win, however, we'll register 11 home wins, which will be our best record at home since the 2011-2012 seasons. Arsenal have a good tradition against us on their own. They have kept 29 clean sheets against us, which is the most out of any opposition. Also, before the last 2 games where they didn't score, in the previous 18 they had scored 40 goals against us. However, we won the game at home 2-0 last season, as you well remember, and it's going to be the first time that we will win consecutively against them if we manage to do so on Sunday since 94-95 and 95-96. Actually, we won our home games against them in the 3 first Premier League seasons back in the 90s. Dummett, if he plays, and most probably he'll play, will register his 50th Premier League game for Newcastle. And we all know that we have the 3 goal scorers with double-digit numbers for the season. Callum Wilson at 15, Miguel Almiron at 11, and Alexander Isak at 10, all looking to improve on their numbers. However, let's win the game on Sunday and stamp our place in the Champions League next season.
Enjoy Barcelona, Bonnie lad. Go on then, Joe.
Right, it's great that you cater for the deaf at racecourses, isn't it?
I do like that.
Yeah. I'll put a tenner on that. Right, straight on with the prices because I'm conscious of the time. So, Newcastle 29-20, Arsenal 8-5. So what that means is essentially it could go either way. And the draw is a very, very tempting 11-4. 1-0 Newcastle, 11-1. 2-1 Newcastle, 9-1. And the Penman is 18-1. Nils each is 16-1, 1s each is 6-1, and 2s each is 11-1. And if you think the Arse are going to win, 1-0 to the Arsenal is 12-1, and 2-0, 16-1. No surprises that Alex Isak and Callum Wilson are joint favourites to score any time in the game at just under evens. Jacob Murphy is 9-2 to continue his spree. But I'm on Joe Willock at 15-2 to stick one past his old side. And Sunday wouldn't be Sunday without considering Jesus. So if you think he's going to score, it's 13-5. Just for fun, William Hill are offering Kieran Trippier and Martin Odegaard to assist a goal at 14-1. And I love this one, 9-2 if you think Manchester United will finish outside of the top 4. So I'm going to stick 20 grand on that just because it's a bet. I love it. But that's enough about the Premier League. The most important league in the world at the minute is the NUFC Matters Super 6, which is getting absolutely mega exciting. First of all, congratulations to our manager of the month for April, which is Keith. Oh, no, it wasn't you, Pat, or you were shite. It was Ian Charlton. Ian scored a massive 94 points. So well done, mate. That's cracking. But at the business end, Jack Railton has gone back to the top on 459 points, which is the exact amount of attempts Wraithy had trying to log into his account. My train buddy, Andy's close behind on 455 points. And Frank Huntley, who's been in the Champions League positions all season, is on 4-5-3. So again, you can't get a playing card in between them. Look after your money this weekend. Only bet what you can afford. And thank you very much.
Great stuff. Okay, got 10 minutes. And Newcastle United play Arsenal at home. It's a 4:30 start live on Sky Sports. The game is sold out. War Flags are asking you to take your scarf if you've got one and you're going to the game to wave them high. It's going to be a big display. We need the team behind. They need the supporters behind the team as much as always on Sunday. A huge game. Supermac will be at the Dog and Parrot at 2 o'clock and at 6:45 after the game. And Humphreys will feature John Gibson and John Anderson at 2 o'clock before the game. No Lascelles due to a calf injury. Longstaff may be back. ASM should be okay. As for Arsenal, El Neni and Tomiyasu are out. William Saliba is doubtful. And we still don't know whether Gabriel was fit to resume training after he went off in the game the other night. Referee, Chris Kavanagh, and VAR is Andy Madley. Okay, George, prediction. How do you see this one going?
I've still got the positive gut feeling about it at the moment, and I fancy a 3-0 win.
3-0 win
for me.
That's straightforward as always, George. Mitch, have you got the dice?
I have indeed. So thoughts though, I think the centre-back situation could be one that we could exploit. And I was fascinated to hear Carragher talk about their electric start against Chelsea through the week. And that's what triggered Rob's 20-minute rant before about how shit Chelsea are. And I was thinking, watching it, if they start like that against us, they'll be 1-0 down. They weren't electric, they weren't terrifying, they weren't quick, they were pedestrian, and Chelsea were very ordinary. So I think there's a statement win to be made there, and I think we should grab it with both hands. And the dice say 2-1.
2-1 to Tune. Okay, good stuff.
Take it.
I'll take it as well. Steve?
I'm looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to see what Eddie does. I'm hoping Longstaff's fit, and if he is, then I think he comes straight back in. And that gives us a headache of who plays on the left. Does he go for Joe Linton? Does he flick Willock over there and bring Almiron in on the right? Does Gordon get a look in? Or does he play Isak on the left, up front, alongside Callum Wilson? These are the fascinating things. And I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie threw a curveball in. Not that he's ever... I mean, he has occasionally thrown, a wide ball at us when, like, say, for example, bringing Murphy in. And there's another player who's done tremendously well in the last few weeks and shows that when you've got a player that Eddie trusts, then he looks after them. And maybe that's exactly the same with Paul Dummett for next season. Who knows? But I think the one thing I'm pretty certain on is that ASM won't start. He'll be on the bench, and I don't think he'll even come on because I think our players now, because of the way we've played, who are now ahead of him in the pecking order. And in terms of how I think the game's going to go, I'm going to go 2-0, Steve. 2-0 win for Newcastle.
2-0 win. Okay, well, that's what I'm going for. 2-0. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think the resurgence of what we see of Newcastle United now that was really epitomised by the game at St James's last season, because I know it was the end of the season, but I thought we were absolutely fantastic from start to finish. We did then what we've done all season now. So I played a bit cautious with the Tottenham game, thought a bit cautiously with the Manchester United game, and look what happened. So me and caution is kind of working well at the minute. So I think it'll be 1-1, which really means we'll win 4-0. But why not? Why not go for it? Why not? So yeah, 1-1 is my Super 6 prediction. But we'll win 2-0.
2-0. Keith, last but by no means least.
I think it's going to be tougher than maybe we hope. I think it's do or die for them. It's the best chance they've got to win the title. And I think they're a good outfit. I think they're well marshalled, but I don't think they'll come again. I think next year they'll struggle to be in the top 3. That's my opinion. I think they have in their rosy patch, and they've got the heart of a pea. So for me, I think they'll come at us. I think I think that Odegaard's something special. Saka and them. I honestly think it'll be tough, and it'll be very interesting to see whether he puts our man Taggart at the back or Burn. But I think they'll attack that side. I think they'll lean on that side, and I just think you can't not play. He'll start Wilson, but I think you just think he's got to start Isak as well, because Arsenal. If you sit back on Arsenal, I mean, think about when we were down there this year. I went to the match. It was like the Alamo, and he had to change the whole Newcastle side round mid-game, and then hang on. And all we did just play the spoiling. But Arsenal away, look where it's led us to. And they were on a run. They were beating everybody, but we got what we wanted out that game, which was not to get beat. Tomorrow, I think it's different. Tomorrow, we've got to go at them. It's our best form of our defence. And Twinkle Toes going down the side of the pitch, he's unmarkable. You know what I mean? And I hear what Steve Hasty says, and I think I can see the logic in thinking Maxi hasn't had his head where these lads have, why you wouldn't play him. But then at the same time, you could see him just sticking them on and say, go and do something. He did that with Gordon last week, and then he pulled him off. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But as I look at this team, I don't think Longstaff will make it. I think it'll be the Brazilians plus Willock, and I think the likes of Miggy, Isak, and Wilson will cause all kinds of problems with them. And if you cause them problems, it gives them less chance to cause you problems. But I think we'll win. I'd love to say, let me little pal Stuart Penman be right again, but I'm going to be a bit more conservative and say I think it'll be 2-1. And we've had a habit of going behind these last few weeks.
Yeah,
we've been going behind and finding us back in games and then coming alive. We did it at Southampton, which is such a shock. But I think tomorrow, however we start, I think we'll finish well. I think we 2-1 Newcastle.
Yeah, my rationalisation, though, Keith, on ESM is the fact that who they've got playing down their right-hand side.
Yeah,
and I think that's why the left-hand side of our pitch is vitally important. And if you've got Joe Linton, who's there for when we know that Saka's going to pull and cut in, because he always does. And we've got a little bit of pace there, and we've also got some power. The lad doesn't like to get kicked either. I'm not saying we're going to go out and kick him, but I'm saying the physicality of the game, that's the important aspect, but it's got to be fair. And I think that's the important side of the pitch. You either get a runner on them, or you get someone who can block and who's there to act and support Burn if Burn is the fullback.
Yeah, I think it's good judgment, and I'm like I think you said Trolls was a big Maxi fan. I've been a massive fan, but same token, I think Eddie Howe's getting a tune out the likes of Murphy and out the likes of Miggy, where he gets them to run through walls, track back, and they never get skinned. And we all know Maxi will be on the floor like look at his legs, because they know, teams know how to slow Maxi down. I mean, I have to say that I worry about Bruno in the last 5 games. I think Bruno leads away. I think it'd be a nightmare, and I think Fat Sam will just don't let him finish the game. I think Arsenal will have a bit of that tomorrow. I think they'll leave a lot on Bruno, because if you stop Bruno, you do slow Newcastle down immensely, and I think there'll be some of that tomorrow.
Got to bring the cat in. No time for Elliot, because I've got to crack on. I'm doing News of the World straight after this show. So here's the cat. And 15th of the 9th, 2012, it's Steve Wanker Wraith making stuff up again. I bet you didn't know he went to school in Sunderland.
Names a lot.
Fantastic. Just time to shout out this. It's a play that I'm working on. It's going to be on at the Irish Centre Friday, the 16th of June. Kick-off 7:30. Tickets are a £5 from NewcastleLegends.com. It's a comedy. It's very funny. It's based in the 1960s around the Fairs Cup campaign. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, and just after the hour, the man did cometh at the double, as it was time to take Bend It Like Bobby. So it's a comedy play. It's a rehearsed reading by Jim Orr. I'm involved with a few other people. So get yourself to newcastlelegends.com, go to the shop. It's a £5, and we'll be doing a collection on the night for the food bank. Big thanks to George, to Mitch, to Steve, to Joe, and to Keith, and to Andre. Thanks to everybody for watching. I'll be back 2:00 tomorrow afternoon with Mitch and with Stu.
Remember your words for God Save the King on Sunday, mind lads.
Yes, we will. Take care.
God save Kevin Keegan.
Cheers, everyone.